Hello everybody, it's Punxsutawney Karen here. Last Monday was February 2nd, Groundhog Day. Another thing that happened last week was I made a video about Jeffrey Epstein in the light of the DOJ being compelled by Congress to release 3.5 million documents in the Epstein files in one big old dump. Pages are still being combed over, and people are using these documents to paint a clearer picture on the influence that Jeffrey Epstein had, and also of this secret oligarchical pedophile sex trafficking blackmail government information ring that Epstein was running. There was some really screwed up stuff in there. Lots of people saw disturbing images as well. All of this is very important. We should absolutely pay attention to it, yes. But I think that a lot of people also need a little supplemental palate cleanser. A deep breath, a cool drink of water while still staying focused, of course. So I'm going to talk about a different cabal. And I'll let you independent thinkers, you feral and dejected investigative journalists, make the Jeffrey Epstein connections if they exist. What I'm talking about is a shady group of men who flaunt their wealth and status, all serving the purpose of guarding the elixir of immortality in which they can reproduce, yet they withhold. Why? I don't know, to make us more sick so we pay more money to private healthcare systems so we don't die? To limit the knowledge of reproducing miracles so we can stay miserable and static forever? Or perhaps so we don't learn the secrets of the voices of winter. As if we gained the ability to listen to her, all forces tethering the fleeting sanity of humanity to Earth would begin to unwind. Those questions we don't have direct answers to yet they tease us. They tease us every day. And perhaps the most disturbing aspect of all this is the abomination at its heart. The head of this operation, the brains and the soul, the oldest and most powerful physical being who transcended mortality, whose thirsts and vengeances must be contained or else it could spell the end of civilization as we know it. $5 says you don't know how batshit insane the lore of Groundhog's Day is. Not the movie. For those of you who have not eaten a hot dog burger today, the traditional food of the average US citizen, Groundhog's Day is a national observance in the United States of America. It's ingrained into the very culture of the US, and most of every US citizen is very familiar with it, even if they've never seen a groundhog in their entire lives. But I'm sure that many non-American folks are not in the loop, and they are confused about this holiday. And if you're confused and you're European, that's kind of ironic because it's got deep roots in European folklore. We're getting into weather prediction lore, baby. So a lot of German Christians had a tradition during Candlemas known as this, I'm not going to try to pronounce it. It translates to Badger Day. It's pretty much the same thing as Groundhog Day, but you know, Badger. It is a very, very, very old and long practiced tradition. And like many other observances and traditions in Christian holidays, a lot of it has origins in pre-Christian practices. This particular bit of weather lore is present in Imbolc, or St. Bridget's Day. Although there is a lot of evidence that Imbolc is a pagan festival and predates Christianity, in that Bridget was the name of a goddess associated with Imbolc, later being turned into a feast day for a patron saint of Ireland, St. Bridget, in what many consider to be an act of Christianization. Within this festival, there is the exact bit of weather lore that is present in Candlemas. Although I couldn't find much about the animal being a badger, there's documentation of the animal being a hedgehog or a serpent. Imbolc takes place early in February, and look at that, so does Candlemas and Groundhog Day. So the Pennsylvania Dutch settlers continued this general widely practiced tradition of festive weather prediction, but with a groundhog, which to be fair are sometimes referred to as thickwood badgers, even though groundhogs aren't in the mustelid family. There's some badger lore for you. It is now a secular, non-religious observance. You can absolutely participate in this if you are not Christian. So Groundhog Day, it takes place all over the US, I'm pretty sure Canada too. Many different places have their own groundhog and their own Groundhog Day celebration, but real Groundhog Day heads will tell you that the real deal observance was the traditional one and the very first one to happen in America over in Punxsutawney, Pennsylvania. This is a town with a population of about 6,000 people. Folks, sometimes forming crowds of over 40,000, flock out to see Punxsutawney Phil, Mr. Groundhog Day Groundhog, predict some weather. Yeah, that's Punxsutawney Phil. Seems like a cute little guy, right? Seems like a little baby. Seems like a jovial little child, a little tyke with wide, fresh eyes and, you know, an open heart. Wrong! Let's talk about Punxsutawney Phil canon. So according to officials of the Punxsutawney Groundhog Club, formed in 1899, Punxsutawney Phil is immortal. I said that correctly. Punxsutawney Phil is immortal. But he wasn't always immortal. He was once mortal, but he transcended mortality. He is the same groundhog that has been predicting weather since 1886. This groundhog is over 140 years old. Canon. Phil and his family live in a place called Gobbler's Knob. Canon. You might be asking yourself, how does Punxsutawney Phil stay alive for so long? In the wild, groundhogs typically live for 4 to 6 years. However, in captivity, when separated from environments that can host diseases, parasites, and predators, they can live up to 15 years. So yeah, Punxsutawney Phil should be dead, but Punxsutawney Phil has a secret, and that secret is the elixir of life. I'm not fucking around with you. I'm not making anything up. That is the official stance of the Groundhog Club. The elixir of life is administered by the Inner Circle to Phil. The Inner Circle is a mysterious group of, if I'm not wrong, all old white men. You might be asking yourself, what are the term limits of the Inner Circle? Death. It is a sacred oath and the term limits are non-existent. You are a member of the Inner Circle for life. Who are the members of the Inner Circle, you might ask? Meet Tom Dunkel, the president and the shingle shaker. What is a shingle shaker? What kind of role is that? We don't know. They will not tell us. This is a very secretive organization, but we do know that these positions of power are rooted in nepotism.
Through the 80s, my father was the handler of Punxsutawney Phil. So growing up, I was around Phil all the time. So I have lots of fond memories of that very groundhog from when I was very young. And matter of fact, one story is we had some guests that came to Thanksgiving dinner that wanted to meet Phil. So my dad brought Phil in, and he's holding them and holding Phil, walking around the dinner table with Phil. And Phil chose that moment to relieve himself across the dining room table and onto the carpet.
Working below Tom Dunkel is the rest of the Inner Circle. Vice President Dan McGlinley, nicknamed Moonshine. Secretary Jason Grusky, nicknamed Big Chill. Treasurer Josh Farkas, nicknamed Frostbite. Phil's handler AJ DeRoom, nicknamed Rainmaker. Butch Philibert, we don't know what he does. We only know him for his nickname, Iceman. Jeff Lundy, no nickname, but he's the fair weatherman of the group. Maybe fair weatherman is the nickname, I don't know. Dave Gigliotti, no nickname, Thunder Coordinator. Patrick Osikowicz, nickname Ozone. John Johnston, the Chief Health Man. Jory Sarian, nicknamed Daybreaker. Rob McCoy, nicknamed Downpour. Patrick Cassidy, Head Huntsman. What is he hunting? Who is he hunting? Who are they hunting? Rob Gemmel, Storm Builder. Jay Lundy, Nepotism, nickname Overcast. And finally, we have Marcy Galando. She is staff, not part of the Inner Circle. No top hat, no suit, no cool nickname. She is the executive director, the face of commerce to give this operation legitimacy within the establishment. What do these people do? We don't know. They will not tell us the roles of each member. We can only speculate. They operate in secrecy, except for the festivities of Groundhog Day, where they use their Prometheus, Phil, to fulfill their yearly ritual of translating the secrets of winter. What will happen if they don't do this? We don't know. How do they communicate with Phil? By speaking Groundhogese. They learn the language. Interspecies communication. They know the secrets that are beyond our comprehension, yet they keep us in the dark. That is not the only thing that they keep us in the dark about. This, let's call a spade, cabal of presumably high status and wealthy old white men literally know the recipe for immortality, but they do not distribute it. They only give it to a groundhog so it will predict the weather for them. Canon. They feed Punxsutawney Phil the elixir of life at the groundhog picnic where they perform the elixir of life ceremony. Canon. They feed it directly to him in a tiny little groundhog-sized cask labeled Phil's elixir of life. Every sip he takes gives him 7 more years of longevity. Cannon! Let's do some quick maths here. We're talking for the size of a groundhog and the size of a groundhog's mouth and capabilities to sip or gulp, 7 years of groundhog longevity for roughly 0.05 to 0.1 ounce sip of the elixir. In doing some more rough math, I think it's safe to say that, you know, a human weighs about 15 to 20 times that of a groundhog. Let's say 10 pounds. A human would probably need to ingest about a half to a full ounce of this liquid to get the same outcome of increased longevity. This cask holds about a gallon of liquid, I would say. If the cask is full of drinkable elixir, that translates to 128 ounces or 256 doses for the average human, which would equal about 1,792 years of longevity or more if you just pounded that sucker on the spot. Phil drinks out of that cask every damn year, and every time he has more than just one sip. Look right here. They're haphazardly spilling the miracle cure. This is the secret to immortality. They're spilling it all over the ground and they're just laughing about it. How many years of longevity did they just squander? 20 years? 50 years? Just on the fucking ground. They're laughing at you because you are going to die and Phil isn't. Now, am I saying that it is morally justified if you were to go to the Groundhog picnic, bum rush the keg, absolutely charge the stage like a deranged bull on cocaine with the goal of drinking every possible ounce, every possible drop of Phil's elixir of life? No, of course I'm not saying that. We don't know what that outcome would be because we know nothing about this elixir. And also, doing that would disrupt the system, and I have a family. And I'm afraid of what will happen to them if I continue to share this information. And I know what you're thinking. Oh, maybe I could just get a sample and try to reproduce it myself. Good luck. Not just good luck cracking the code, but good luck not ending up on a missing person poster. And you might be saying, okay, the inner circle, a little too high profile. Maybe I could find a different immortal groundhog and drink from that keg of immortality. Whatever you do not do that. You are not the first person with this idea. Other people want to make groundhogs to predict the weather for them, but it always ends up horribly wrong. Sun Prairie, Wisconsin. Rumor has it that they've been trying to develop their own elixir of life for years now, but they tried giving it to their weather predicting groundhog, Jimmy. Jimmy is a cautionary tale to the idea that if you fuck around with the elixir of life, you will not gain vitality, you will lose your essence.
All right, everybody, welcome to Jimmy the Groundhog.
Okay, so first of all, right there, look at them trying to play God. They got a groundhog in a limo. Raging hubris. Of course something is gonna go wrong here.
He says that...
Play that back. Play that back really slow. This work is sloppy, and if you're a professional, like you've done your research like I have, you could tell right away. Look at Jimmy's eyes. This is bootleg elixir. This is bootleg groundhog punch. It could have very well given him vitality, but it took his sanity and consciousness. He's like a fucking Dark Souls boss, hollowed out. Pure instinct. You might be saying, oh, what if the inner circle shared the elixir with other groundhogs that they deem fit? And this is honestly good proof that humans can drink it too, because they won't even give it to other groundhogs. Just Phil. Here's the most fucked up part of the elixir of life. It's the utmost greed of Punxsutawney Phil in the inner circle. It's not which person they choose to give the elixir of life to. It's not even which groundhog they give the elixir of life to. It's which groundhogs they don't give it to. Meet Punxsutawney Phyllis. She lives with Punxsutawney Phil on Gobbler's Knob. She is Phil's wife. I guess at the inner circle are groundhog wedding officiants and they married them. Maybe that's what the Iceman does, I don't know. But here's the thing, Punxsutawney Phyllis doesn't get to drink the elixir of life. She is denied immortality. Don't take my word for it.
Phyllis, she does not get to drink the elixir. So, about every, maybe 10 or 15 years, there'll be a new Phyllis because she does not get to drink the elixir with Phil.
You heard that correctly. The president, the shingle shaker himself, Tom Dunkel, all the way at the top of the ladder, just confirmed in that video that every 5 to 15 years, a new female groundhog is fated to marry this old, decrepit cult leader, fated to watch him outlive her when they have the fucking elixir of life at hand. Casks full of it. This is the patriarchy in motion, clear as day. Here is something even more fucked up. Punxsutawney Phil and Punxsutawney Phyllis recently had children. They have pursued the miracle of life, and I've done a lot of research on this, and the effects of the elixir does not go generation to generation. That means that Punxsutawney Phil is fated to not only watch Punxsutawney Phyllis pass away and wither in the dust, but also his very own children, his kin. Pause. I'm breaking character for a second. Why the fuck did they choose to make the lore like that? Why the fuck did they do that? You could probably explain Santa Claus lore or Easter Bunny lore to a child without having them instantly break down crying, but you should not explain the politics of the elixir of life and how Phil is fated to watch his loved ones pass away every handful of years. Definitely don't tell your child about ozone. Maybe this is the point. Maybe the inner circle wants to inflict subliminal trauma onto children. The promise of eternal life, but it can only go to a fucking groundhog. Or maybe it's deeper than that. What if I told you that the inner circle has infiltrated Hollywood to penetrate our minds with propaganda, warning signs, cautionary tales against seeking the elixir of life for your own personal gain, like I previously warned you not to do? In the idea that immortality is secretly a curse? My evidence? Groundhog Day. Beloved movie. I dare say a classic. There is a very good chance that you have seen this movie. I would say as popularity goes, it's on the same level as something like, Good Will Hunting or Forrest Gump, give or take. And if it's not explicitly as popular as those movies, I'd say that the cultural impact is gigantic. That feeling you get of deja vu, like you experienced the same thing before on a different day, lots of people will just call that Groundhog Day in reference to the movie, which is about being stuck in perpetual existence, unable to feel the sweet release of death, which eventually drives Bill Murray's character mad because he cannot comprehend the implications of immortality within this exact context. This movie takes place in Punxsutawney, Pennsylvania. The main character's name is Phil. Punxsutawney Phil is also in the movie. Bill Murray's presence in Punxsutawney, his involvement in Groundhog Day festivities, his relationship to Punxsutawney Phil was entirely disrespectful. It was rooted in ignorance. I dare say even exploitation. He didn't give a shit about Groundhog Day. He was just in town covering it for personal gain. At one point, Bill Murray even tries to harm Phil in order to break the curse of immortality, but it doesn't work. Phil is too powerful. This is a warning sign. This is to say, hey, you better not bull charge the stage at the picnic like a madman. You don't know what you're getting yourself into. And that is true. Anyone seeking the elixir, the groundhog punch, should understand any fate that follows. You do not comprehend that this goes all the way to the top. Not just Hollywood, not just the media, but the federal government as well. There are congressional records where members of our government are, from what I can see, worshipping Punxsutawney Phil. His influence has even penetrated the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration. This is an immortal being sitting on the cure to death itself, colluding with the federal government, which time and time again invests in private healthcare systems, unable to rein in big pharma, or unwilling to rein in big pharma, which has a vested interest in keeping Americans in a never-ending state of illness and poverty. We are so close to uncovering the full and uncompromised truth here, and I just want to take a moment to say that I am happy with my life. I am not depressed. If anything were to happen to me, it would indicate that somebody decided that it was my time to go, because I know too much and I am filling your head with the wrong ideas. I will never stop speaking the truth. I have a Patreon. Show me my patrons and have a wonderful day.